Hello everyone and welcome to some competitive Mario Kart Deluxe. Today's event is quite an exciting one. I will say now that it did go very well, but I also think that it is full of plenty of interesting races. Now I am watching this back along with you, so I'll try and give a retrospective viewpoint on my decision making at the time, but also what went well and what could have gone better. But with that, I hope that you enjoy it, and we will get straight into race 1, which is Koopa City. And as you can see, I have 2 mushrooms, and my teammate is near the front, well, both me and my teammate are near the front, which is very strong on this track. I am very strong at driving on this track, so obviously trying to get to the front will be the ideal plan here. And as you can see, I shoot up here, hold on to this other mushroom, because if I can get into first, I obviously can hold on to that, and then I have the blue dodge, and I will be respected while I'm in first. However, I'm not quite able to do so, and I have to back up a bit because of the trail from first there. But at the moment, we're 2-3 as well, which is great. I just kind of need to sit back. I'm not really under any pressure from behind. I just have to make sure I don't get hit, and there was a bit of lag there, but we are good still. And I'm slipping back a little bit from first, but the blue comes out, which is great. And then I guess I have more time to avoid this back here, which is good. And then I have to unfortunately waste my mushroom to avoid that red, but I get another one as well. And I decided to use it here because the blue just happened, and after 30 seconds, I don't think there will be enough time for another blue to arrive this race. So I'm perfectly okay with using that there. I use the coin instantly because there's an easy double coming up and my coin count was kind of low. But there's the shock, and that was a pretty good shock. It only dodged one person kind of high, and I think they got it hit out afterwards anyway. Unfortunately, it does mean my teammate is kind of near the back, but I do hold on to first here. And then the person behind me has a mushroom. And obviously that means that I need to drive really well here, because obviously they have a huge advantage into the last corner. And I'm going for all of the mini turbo strats here. And I get the defense item. I throw that instantly just in case they do get near enough, so that obviously I can try and hold on to first. They almost go around me, but I just about managed to cross the line first, and that was a great first place start to this event, and basically a perfect start for me. And then as a team, it was a pretty good race, so we will absolutely take that for the first race of this event. And then going to race 2, we have DK Summit. Now this track is a little bit worse for me in terms of how I can consistently perform. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily bad at the track in any way, I just tend to struggle to get those consistently top results due to kind of inconsistencies between when I run and I bag, and get kind of unlucky with shocks, I would say. Not necessarily unlucky because, you know, I'm not using dodge as well as I could, but it's kind of unfortunate sometimes. But this time I decided to run, and as you can see, I hit a shy guy there. I have a little bit of a difficulty avoiding them lap 1. I guess that's another reason this track is a little bit more inconsistent. Sometimes the timing I arrive there just isn't great for avoiding them. But I do manage to hold on to third, which is really good, and we are both near the front again. And as you can see, there's the shock. And that's a pretty average shock. It gets most of us at the front in cannon, and no one behind really dodged. But obviously at this position, I'm thinking there probably will be another shock this race, given how long the track is, and that being the beginning of lap 2. And here, got to be a little bit careful of that banana trail, which I am, and I do manage to do a pretty good double cut, and I take first place. Which obviously, given the fact there could be another shock, and there's the blue as well, isn't actually that great. However, someone does do a better half pipe than me, and so I decide, well, why not let them take the blue as well? And then my teammate's there with mushrooms as well, so in case they drop out, my teammate can dodge, but we're good. And then have to go a little bit to the left there to obviously avoid the blue. But we're both in a really good spot as a team. Back the bottom there to try and get us a bit more space. But yeah, we are 1-3. Teammate has a mushroom in first, and obviously I have my mushroom here, which I use there to do the cut and obviously get rid of the blooper. And then here at the end, it's just trying to avoid the bill and kind of anything else that I could get hit by. I can't really gain any more spots here, so I just have to focus on not losing any. And then some good half pipes here. We got the mushroom for the end, so I use that immediately. But I do lose one spot, and then there's the shock at the end that I was talking about. But obviously, luckily, it didn't matter for us at the front. And we get a very strong race as a team. It was a 1-5. We just have to wait a little bit for the points to come in here. But I definitely would take that for this track. 5th place is not a bad performance for me on this track at all, so I'll definitely take that. 2-5, I mean, not 1-5 unfortunately, but 2-5 was really good, so we'll take that. And then we head to Tick-Tock Clock, which again isn't one of my strongest tracks. So something I will say now is that for the first kind of half of this event, I wasn't playing as well as I should have been doing or could have been doing. And this is one of the tracks where you'll kind of see that a bit more with the mistakes that I am doing. But in the second half, I really do kind of focus. So we do start, getting the good results there. But for now, on this track, it's not one of my strongest tracks. So obviously, I do need to kind of concentrate here. And you'll see here a bit of an error. I should have gone for the clock hand shortcut. I was originally going for coins because I was thinking kind of get my coins up and then kind of, come back towards the end. Not necessarily bag, but kind of come back with mushrooms or whatever, boo or anything. But I should have been looking more and seeing that those coins were being taken, and I should have, adjusted accordingly, which I didn't do, unfortunately. But anyways, here I'm just trying to get us into a top 2, which I unfortunately am not able to because obviously that would be really strong, but I missed some of the tricks there, which isn't great. And then I dropped down to 5th. And then there's quite a lot in front of me, so I decided to just, use the mushrooms so I can actually see everything that's in front, because there's some bananas and a green shell trail. And there's the blue for my teammate, which obviously isn't really ideal for us. And then I'm not necessarily in a good spot because there's that trail that I'm trying to avoid. I tried to get past it, but I couldn't. And then unfortunately I do get lag trailed there. And then there's a bob-omb, which we also get hit by. And then my teammate gets hit by something, and then a piranha plant, and a lot happened there, which obviously wasn't ideal. Too many hits for staying in a good spot. But we do get in the start, which was great for avoiding some of that. I'd missed another trick, which was not ideal. But I am able to get a double, but obviously I have to go wide for the bill. And then triple mushrooms blue is really not that helpful here. I throw the blue just to try and see if I can hit anyone out to the end, which I think I might have done because I get 11th, which wasn't as bad as it could have been. I definitely should have got last there, but obviously that wasn't really a great race as a team, unfortunately. And then we head to Mario Kart Stadium. Now, something else I should note is that race was our worst race as a team all event, so obviously things do get a lot better later on, like I was saying about. But anyways, Mario Kart Stadium, generally I prefer to run this compared to bagging, because either I stay at the front the whole race, which is obviously the ideal, or I drop back a bit to kind of the 5th, 6th, 7th range towards the end, or I can, deliberately back off to get to that so that I can get triple mushrooms to do motion glide at the last lap. But as you can see here, I am able to take first, which is amazing. And at this point, I see the red behind, and I kind of just drive expecting they're just going to hit me out. But they do not do that, despite the fact they could take top 2. So I then, let them pass, which I didn't realise how far back they were, but I kind of just let them go because I think, they're not going to red me out otherwise. And then they do go through, and then obviously I have to be careful their teammate was behind. And then there's the shock, which is actually a really good shock because, well, 2 things. 1, it dodged my teammate in bill, and 2, it got me into glide and into set. However, there was another shock, which dodged my teammate a second time in their original bill, which is amazing. So, and then the other person who was in their bill got shocked. So now my teammate is gone in first with triple mushrooms. I'm not sure how many they have left. Then I pull triple mushrooms, and we are in a really good spot. My teammate is so far ahead that they are almost guaranteed to win the race now, since there isn't likely going to be another shock for the rest of the race. So my aim is to try and hold on to this second, and then I back the reds there, because obviously my teammate is the one in first, and then I am able to hit someone out. And then going into the end, there's a lot of reds. I'm in a really good spot. I've got a bit of a gap behind as well. And then I back the Fireflower because of the reds. But unfortunately, a red there skips, or at least it was going for someone, and then changed its mind, I guess, and then went for me instead, which wasn't great. My teammate gets first, obviously, which is amazing. But it's a shame. It could have been a 1-3, for example, unfortunately. And then going to Donut Plains 3. This is another one. Well, this one actually, I'm kind of like 50-50 split on whether I want to run or bag. It all comes down to the positioning at the start. Now, I did start with coins, obviously, from, getting a bad race in Mario Kart Stadium. However, I do get 2 mushrooms. I use one on the what would have been a no-item shortcut lap 1, because it's kind of the most inconsistent lap for doing it for me, generally due to coins. However, I'm able to hold on to 1 mushroom in first, which is amazing, obviously, for the blue protection, and I'm at 10 coins, which is absolutely fantastic. And then I was pretty decent in this there. And at this point, it's just trying to run, you know, to the end. Ideally, at this point, I'm hoping that the blue is before the shock, because obviously if it's the other way around, I'm going to get hit by 2 things, whereas if it's blue first, I only get hit by 1, which obviously would be the shock. Blooper comes out, which isn't really too much of a problem here. There is luckily nothing. I want to drop any bananas at the boxes, so we don't have to avoid any of that. And then there comes the blue shell. However, obviously we have the mushroom, we've been saving it. A little bit of a bad nisk there, but we were all good. Dodge the blue shell, no problems there. And at this point, it's hoping that the shock is as late as possible. But unfortunately, it does dodge a lot of people, and it is kind of, you know, a bit before the end. So it's kind of unlikely I'm going to win this race here with someone dodging as high up as they did. However, I have to go really far to the right here, almost on the grass, to try and avoid those greens, which I do manage to do. And I get the 2nd place, which is really, really good for this track. I will 100% take that all day long. And it was a pretty decent race as a team, so we will take that. And then going into Bone Dry Dunes. This is definitely, for me, more of a runner. I would say I'm quite confident at the driving on this one. So obviously, again, we got the mushroom. We want to try and get nearer to the front here. Now, unfortunately, I don't really have any coins, which isn't ideal, and I'm not really able to get any of the easy ones, although I do get one there, although I missed one as well. However, I do have 2 mushrooms, and that means I'm hoping that if I don't get hit out and I kind of stay where I am near the front, I get to first anyway, which is amazing. I then can do a mushroom here, and then hold on to the other one for blue again. There's been a lot of that today, holding a mushroom in first, but it does work, as we saw. And then I have a defense item afterwards as well again, which I think I had last race as well, which is great in case someone behind just threw a red anyway for whatever reason. And maybe if they had a mushroom themselves, obviously you then hit out the person in first, so then you're the one in first potentially. But we're top 2, so obviously teammate will not be hitting me out, and therefore I have an extra layer of defense, which is great. On top of my green shell already. And then at this point, we're kind of just driving again, hoping that the blue is before the shock. Obviously, that would be far less ideal if it's the other way around. And then the blooper comes out. Not really a problem there. It was a bit awkward with the dry bones, but it's fine. And then there comes the shock. The boo did steal my mushroom, but it didn't really matter because of the shock. However, the person that stole my mushroom, I believe, was there. They did dodge, so they now take first. But unfortunately, I do get squished there, which isn't great. And then we drop back quite a bit. And obviously my coin count still isn't doing very well at all by this point. Bit of an unfortunate bump there, but we're fine. And then at the end here, just throw the reds full, just try and make sure it hits their greens if they back them, which they did. I get a double, which is really important here because I can guarantee I get a mushroom. And then I would have got rid of my greens because my teammate was there, but the boo did it for me, I guess. And then I do mushroom up. I didn't really do anything necessarily wrong at the end. I think it was the fact that the people around me had more mushrooms or stars or whatever, so I kind of lost the spot that I was in. But it's an average race as a team, 6-7, so we'll take it. And then Koopa Cape. Now, this is obviously the second half of the event now, and this is where I was saying we do start to, at least me, definitely starts to pick up the performance in terms of the results. So obviously we are focused now, and we know what we need to do. Although I say that, I then kind of just do that no item shortcut as a no item shortcut, but do the mushroom one instead. It's I don't know why I did that. Very random. I guess it's a unique way of doing that. I think I was debating whether to bag or not was the main reason. I ended up deciding, I think, to run because I got into 6th, but my coin count is at 10 already, which is obviously great. And then I have to slow down for the red there, but I'm still in a pretty decent spot in terms of being in the front, and obviously I've got all my coins up, which is amazing. And then I have to still be really careful of that red, and I'm just waiting for them to throw it, which they do, so then I can start mushrooming up. And then, as you can see, teammate is in 2nd, which is great, and I just need to try and get as near to them as possible, which I'm able to do so, and now we're up to 2-4 as a team, which is fantastic. And then I pull the red shell, which is great for defense in case there's any reds or fire flower or anything behind that could be an issue. But I am all good. I've got quite a bit of a gap behind actually, so that means I don't have to look behind me too much here, so I can just focus on the driving here. And then I hold onto all of the mushrooms. Don't need to chain anything because 2 mushrooms is all I need here. I don't want to risk getting anything worse in this position. use one mushroom there, which also gets the blooper, and then there goes the blue, which is great because that will hopefully hit out the person in first. They didn't have a dodge, so they did, and then now I take first as a result, and my teammate is in third, I think. And then they just about managed to get through, so we're now top 2, which is amazing, obviously, going into the end here. And then I have double defense, although I don't really need it, because again, we're top 2 anyway. And at this point, it's just kind of drive nice and safely through the final corner. But we do luckily manage to take the top 2, a maximum score on Koopa Cape. That was quite a brilliant race there, I would say, and that was definitely the start of where I started to focus, of course. And then, yeah, a wonderful race as a team, and we extend our lead quite a lot after that, which is amazing. Okay, going into a squeaky clean sprint, I'll just say now, this start is one of my best ever in Lounge, I would say. Extremely focused here and just drove really, really well. The coin count wasn't even particularly high either. I just kind of drove and I managed to hold on to first, which generally does not happen on this track with all the, I mean, any track really, due to all the bumping and everything, but I managed to make it happen and I stay in first here. I mean, it's not necessarily the best track to stay in first, but it was I can't deny it was a very strong start there. And then I had to back up a bit because of that red trail there, unfortunately, so I do have to slot back into second. However, that's all good. People will likely shroom up anyway. I go a bit wide there, which isn't ideal, but actually not really anyone behind shrooms up, so I still hold second. And my coins are up, which is great. They're almost at 10 now. Get a bit of a high air there, which means I have to unfortunately lose a bit more time to first, and there was a random boomerang there, but luckily we avoided that, so we're all good. And then at this point, again, it's just kind of waiting for the blue shell to arrive, and then I'm kind of chaining to get something better. You see first has the bob on, but luckily I managed to just about get past, and then there's the blooper, and as you can see the blue is now out. However, they do get on the glider before backing off, so it means we're all good. Fortunately, you have to waste the mushroom there for the red, and I have to go a little bit to the left to avoid the blue. However, we are all good, and now I take first, and as you can see my teammate also making a little bit of a comeback there. So we're now 1-3, which is fantastic. And then now I obviously, the defense item there is also kind of huge. It most likely would have been a coin, so we 100% take a banana there. And then obviously since the blue has happened, there shouldn't be another one of those this race. And then I guess it's kind of only a shock that would be the concern. And then we do take top 2, which is fantastic as well, obviously. So I make sure not to back anything now. And then going into the end, once again, it's just drive nice and safely. I make a bit of an error there by not getting the Ultra Mini Turbo, but like I was saying, it's not really a problem here. And then there was no shock before or anything, so we're good. And then we just have to finish, and we get first and second once again. Another 1-2, and obviously getting 2 of those in a row is brilliant because it extends our lead even further than it already was. So fantastic, and of course we are top 2 overall, which is the best you can ask for at this point in an event. Okay, going into Athens Dash. This is a track that isn't played too often, at least I don't play it too often in Lounge. However, I do quite like the track, and the driving is kind of cool, I would say. So at the start, I do some of the strats that I'd learned. However, definitely not as well as they could have been. But anyways, we are still near the front. I have to be careful of that green trail, which they throw, and I almost get hit by it on the bounce back, but we're good. Chain the banana there to try and get a mushroom, which I luckily do get. And teammate is just about in first. There we go. And so then obviously there's the grass cut up ahead, so I am obviously going to hold on to the mushroom, back the banana there, so I hopefully get something after that. And then we mushroom up here. And then I'm not sure what happened there, but we take top 2, which is obviously fantastic. For the third race in a row, we have a top 2 going at some point in the race. However, this time unfortunately my mushroom is taken and I make a driving mistake, which is a little bad there. And on both of those things happening, it means my teammate has to take the blue. Obviously, if I didn't make that driving mistake and I still had my mushroom, my teammate would have been able to have backed off, so I could have dodged the blue myself. Obviously, that isn't ideal, but I am I'm able to hold on to first here, which is fantastic. I avoid the fireflower back there, which is good. And then a little bit slow on all of the tricks there, but I'm still looking good going into the end. Managed to take 2 boxes there, which is obviously very important. And then we have the bob on, which would be really good if my teammate got hit back more than they already fell back, because I obviously could back this to try and get them some, more spots at the end. However, here I just kind of want to play safe and and just take the first and not cause any issues for them. So we kind of trail that just to make sure that we're fine, and we do take another first, and that is my 4th first of the event so far, and my 3rd in a row, which is amazing, and we continue to extend our lead in first as a team, which is great. Okay, Peach Gardens, I think this was the other race that I definitely didn't play as well. I don't really think it was a lack of focus though, I think it was just making the wrong calls at the wrong time, kind of thing. I generally bag this track, as you can see. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better than running for me, I just kind of feel that it's more reliable, and obviously at this point in an event, when you're doing so well as a team, bagging is generally, you know, the preferred strategy, because it's generally a lot safer as long as you do it correctly, or, you know, as well as you can, than, you know, running and potentially getting hit out really badly or being put in a really bad spot, because it's harder for, I mean, we don't really have too much competition, but obviously it would be like impossible for competition to really be able to hit you out when you're bagging, at least compared to when you're at the front. So obviously that was why the decision to bag here was quite an obvious one, and my teammate does as well. And at this point I am just trying to kind of chain through my dodges and the goldens and whatever. I expect a shock, I would say, later this lap, kind of like, you know, maybe beginning of lap 3 perhaps. So obviously at this point it's just trying to get through stuff until I have good enough items to hold on for that shock. And then we chain again for the double there, and I actually pull shock. However, that's not really great, because there's not a lot we can do here in our positioning. I try and chain it into the double, but unfortunately do not get the double because my teammate went for that one as well, which, you know, is kind of my bad for not spacing a bit more. And also, unfortunately, I do dodge them, which was great, but I should have held on and dodged them later, because that didn't really help us at all as a team. So I should have waited till, like, you know, at some point in this lap instead. And then I hit the red shell there, which obviously wasn't ideal, and then I pull a blue, which is really not that good for me here. And as you can see, my teammate's not in a particularly great spot either, so as like I was saying, that was not really a good shock as a team at all. However, I do pull a bill, which is obviously great. I use it there because I'm thinking, I'm hoping at least, that it will end before set so I can chain into a double. However, just go past it. And then it's not terrible, but obviously without a dodge, I can't dodge a shock like that one there, which is the first thing I thought of, is what happens if there's a shock on glider, because oftentimes there is. Unfortunately, I'm not in my dodge because I wanted to hold on to it. So that obviously wasn't great as well. And I don't get last, I do get a crazy 8, and actually that was helpful because it did hit out someone here, so I do gain 2 spots at the end. But obviously there were some definite mistakes for me there that I would need to learn from, but it wasn't a terrible race. My teammate got a decent spot, so it's okay. And then DK Jungle, this obviously isn't a great track from starting so far back. However, I do have my coins up as a result. So obviously I could make something happen, especially with this mushroom here. There's not really any trails around me, so I'm in a good spot to try and make some progress. However, I go into that banana on the double, which I'm not really sure why I needed to go for a double there, and I took a little bit of a awkward mushroom cut. But I'm not in an absolutely terrible spot, as in I'm not in a spot where I think I would have to bag to get a decent race. And my teammate is still, I think, in 3rd, which is obviously fantastic. So at this point, I just kind of need to make sure that I'm trying to get back to where I was, and I still think I can have a strong race by doing that versus having to commit to bagging, which I really struggle bagging this track to get a good spot consistently on. So I would massively prefer to be running this like I'm trying to here. And Triple Mushroom's Bob-omb is really good. I obviously could have backed it here, but I decided to wait because obviously I wanted to do the mushroom cut. And I don't think getting off space is that influential, especially when my teammate gets blued there, unfortunately. But we're still 3-5, have to be careful of that trail, but we're not in the worst spot that we could be on here. And I back the ball on there, we chain into a double, which is good. And then this pull isn't great, my teammate luckily throws the green, so I don't have any potential issues of hitting them, although I think they would be fine anyway. And then this horn is great in terms of, I'm thinking, I'd rather save it for the bridge, because obviously that's where all the backs happen, but unfortunately I have to use it there because of the banana. However, we get the mushroom again. I don't get this super bounce there, unfortunately, and just about don't get hit by my teammate's bananas. But here we just need to obviously do the mushroom cut. There's the second blue this race. I do go on the glider here, which isn't ideal. I do lose a bit of time from that. However, I guess if there was a shock, it would have been really good, but there was not, unfortunately. But I'm not in a terrible spot here. I horn to the horn because I'm thinking there definitely could be backs spams, you know, all around this section. There usually is. So I then have to use it there. I tried to do it to bring out my triple reds, but I wasn't able to. But luckily, I'm able to avoid those green backs there, which was really, really important that I did. So we got a decent race still. And yeah, that was a decent race, so we'll definitely take that. And we're looking pretty comfortable going into the end, so that's amazing, of course. And then, as I say, looking comfortable, I mean, we are so many points in front that it's impossible for us to lose this. You can only gain 24 points on a team maximum in a single race. So obviously we're well above that, so we are very comfortable here for the win. However, rather than, you know, just kind of, you know, accept that we've won and move on, we kind of, well, I want to make sure to try and get the highest score I can here. And obviously as a team, I think we were looking to try and get 200, because obviously when you're in this position, you kind of want to, you know, I mean, you kind of want to go for that 200 score, because it's not something you can do in most events that you play. So when you can do it, obviously you want to go for it. Obviously there's no benefit to getting a higher score now in terms of MMR or anything. Obviously the average score will go up, but you know, we'll still go for it. And then the red shell there was unfortunate. I still try to run this because I prefer running this track. However, I get hit again. But then I still think, you know, maybe I can run this even though I have no coins or anything. And I think, okay, maybe I can run it. I get Piranha planted. Still think maybe I can run it. Throw the fire flower off because my teammate's behind. However, after that green shell, I think, okay, I'm not running this anymore because it just isn't going to work. So we have to commit to bagging. I got, like 4 things I think I got hit by there, which is kind of crazy. I then go up here for coins, but I only get 1, so I guess it's a coin. And then the bull here is really good. I kind of get rid of the golden so I can get a box here. And then I use the bull now, A, because of the stars, but B, I want it to drop me off before next set. However, unlike on Pete's Gardens, you'll see I do time it correctly, and I am able to chain for a double here. I then chain my mushrooms again for another box. I activate the boo, and I pull a star, but I crucially pull another star, which is amazing. That was a very good decision there to chain for all those things. And then going into the end, I'm looking very good. My teammate has reds, so unfortunately they don't have a dodge. However, I do. Can chain both my stars for that double. And then I pull another star with triple mushrooms before. And then I use the star there to make sure I don't get hit by the blue. I should have waited like an extra second or 2 because doing that would be a lot better for the end here. However, it's still really a really strong position to be in, and I do take the 6th place, which was just enough to score, I believe, 110 and 203 as a team, which obviously is an amazing score. We did get the 200, which we were going for, which is fantastic. And that was the event, as I was saying, a very strong event. I think yeah, it was just an amazing performance there. And if you made it this far, I thank you very much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day. And with that, I will see you in the next one.